Now, as I say, the journey that he and so many others started culminated in 1962. By that time, we had a Human Rights Code and a Human Rights Commission. And it developed over the years from there. It developed through 8 successive premiers. From Premier Frost, Premier McGuinty. Premiers from all parties, Progressive, Conservative, New Democratic, Liberal. Through all generations, we had a societal, collective determination to build on and improve our approach to strengthening human rights. A societal, collective determination that started with the Human Rights Code and the Human Rights Commission and has continued over the years. One of the first changes was the right to have heard before an independent board of inquiry. Another involved having those boards of inquiry subject to review by the courts. And that's interesting and that's important because a review of decisions is at the heart of our system of justice. So it showed that one of the most essential principles of justice, the right of review, was incorporated relatively early on to our approach to the resolution of human rights cases and issues. It continued over the years through the development of a specialized tribunal, a specialized place where these issues could go for a hearing. Now, the right to be heard is important. The right to be heard is essential to justice. The right to be heard is essential to the resolution of any issue. And you might say, well, why a specialized tribunal? Why a specialized place? Well, you know, human rights issues are unique. They're ever-changing. They constantly present new issues and challenges. Developing a specialized place for their hearing is very important. It ensures a stronger approach. And you might say, well, why a tribunal? A tribunal is less formal than a court, but incorporates the same strong principles. In many ways, the tribunal fits the people that come before it. Not everyone's a lawyer. Nothing wrong with being a lawyer, but not everyone's a lawyer. Not everyone can afford to hire. And not everyone is as familiar as a lawyer with the specific rules of procedure or rules of evidence that are very much part of a court proceeding. So we developed a specialized approach to the resolution of these extremely important issues. And let's be clear, if you don't give issues a hearing, if you don't address issues, if you don't recognize them and speak to them directly, well, they will do indirectly. And that can only undermine the very society that you're trying to strengthen. And let me just take a moment to recognize the Chair of the Human Rights Commission, Barbara Hall, who's at the back. David Wright, who's head of the tribunal, there he is, and Gottheil, who is the executive chair of the cluster within which the two of them are found, and the former head of the tribunal. Thank you, Michael, for being here. And Catherine Laird of the Legal Support Centre, and Catherine is down there, and I'll come to the Legal Support Centre soon. Thank you very much for being here. So it's against this background. It's against 50 years of work. It's against work that has been done by premiers from all political parties, through all different, many more, joining them, spurring them on, encouraging them, that any call or question of reform needs to be judged. It's against that very strong history that has given rise to the society we have today that any call for reform is to be judged. And that's where I have a few comments and questions about the approach offered by Mr. Hudak, the Leader of the Opposition. You know, Mr. Hudak has addressed human rights issues on two different occasions. About 2 years ago, when he was running for the leadership, he addressed these issues on a number of different occasions. He spoke at that time about eliminating the Human Rights Tribunal and replacing it with a court. He spoke of the system acting too often like a kangaroo court. Kangaroo court. Strong words. Words not often heard in Ontario in relation to our institutions. Words which suggest that Mr. Hudak has rejected the approach that Ontario has followed to develop our strong human rights protections over the last 50 years. And he suggested that the human rights approach that we had in the province of Ontario was being jammed up with political advocacy. Well, political advocacy, what does that mean? Where's the evidence to support that the system's being jammed up with political advocacy? And what does political advocacy actually mean the way he says it? You know, when Hugh Burnett asked for a coffee in McKay's restaurant in Dresden, it wasn't exactly pop. When the Human Rights Commission issued its recent report in response to allegations of harassment of Asian anglers, its report and recommendations, what was that? Was that political advocacy, or was that a report to relieve, address tensions, and strengthen our approach to human rights in the province of Ontario? Now, Mr. Hudak returned to the theme just recently, and he used, in his recent comments, the word fix. He would fix the system. Now, fix is a lot less controversial than eliminate. And when he was asked whether he was flip-flopping, Mr. Hudak specifically said no, the fixes he was determined to implement were entirely consistent with the position that he'd taken before. In fact, they would implement his vision of before, so far from rejecting his previous vision of a kangaroo court jammed with political advocacy. He has said that the approach he's now taking is entirely consistent with it. Entirely consistent with it. Now that causes concern. And I know, people might point to a case or a series of cases to justify whatever approach they wish to take with our human rights system. Well, you know, as a practicing lawyer for 25 years, I could give you a case or series of cases that I wasn't very happy about. I can give you cases either they were approached or for the result they achieved that I wasn't very happy about. In fact, most people could probably give you a case or cases for every court, board, tribunal, and commission that they might disagree with. But you don't take a whole system and throw it out because a case isn't to your liking. You don't take a whole approach developed over 50 years and more and throw it out because of a case or cases that aren't to your liking. That's not the way you build a strong foundation. That's only the way that you take it apart. And what of the fixes that he suggested? Let me just address two. One was to bring to this specialized place an approach that would allow that place to dismiss cases without merit quickly. Sort of a summary review. Well, the Human Rights Tribunal actually implemented that summary review in July. That is, July of last year. It's there. And he also suggested that he would speed up the approach to clear up the backlog, a backlog which he suggested was 4,000 cases long. Well, just to be clear, the Human Rights Tribunal receives about 3,500 new cases a year and disposes of about 3,500 cases every year, which indicates that it's broadly. And in addition, over the past several years, the tribunal has been dealing with the backlog accumulated from before. That's why we brought in the reforms that we did. That's why we implemented the new, stronger protections. Any fixes suggested should be based on the facts as they are. The facts as they are. And in addition, we brought in direct access to the tribunal, the ability to take your case before the place that will hear it without asking permission. The right to be heard is essential to justice. The right to be heard is essential to justice. You know, it may be that the cases that we face are easy to answer. It may be that everybody knows answer to a particular case, no matter its difficulty. That you don't have to have a hearing and you don't have to hear the evidence. When we look back at Mr. Burnett's request for a cup of coffee, the answer today is obvious, but the answer in 1948 apparently wasn't. The difficult and challenging cases of today may have easy answers tomorrow. But you have to let tomorrow come. You do have to let tomorrow come. And in the changes we brought about, in addition to direct access, we provided for a legal support center so that those who aren't lawyers, can't afford lawyers, can actually go for specialized advice on our human rights protections, on the system, to assist them in bringing a complaint or an issue to the tribunal. We have come a long way in more than 50 years. And there are many who have participated. They come from all walks of life. They're people who are known, people who are not. They come from all political parties and many of those who don't affiliate with any. Through 8 premiers over more than 50 years, through all 3 political parties, we have constantly address these issues in a similar fashion with a similar approach. We have looked to strengthen and build on our human rights system in the province of Ontario. A specialized system with a specialized commission and a specialized tribunal. One that can directly address the issues, hear the complaints, and find resolution or give an answer. We have, through successive generations, taken that approach. It has managed to build one of the most unique and the most diverse societies on the face of the earth. Managed to build a society where people live together, work together, play together, and yes, they do that peacefully. Managed to build a society which is the envy of the world, and we know that because people try to come here every minute of every hour of every day from everywhere else in the world. They come here because they know their rights and freedoms, their human rights, will receive the kind of protection and respect that they would hope for and might not find elsewhere. We need to continue defending and strengthening the system that we have all had a hand in building, as have so many before us. We need to continue to build on a system that has created a society that's the envy of the world. We need to continue to build a society with human rights protections in its foundation, at its core, which is a place that all want to come to. We need to continue to work together with the Commission, with the Tribunal, with the history that's gone on before, and with the energy and determination in each and every one of us to build that society. And we won't rest for a moment. We know there are issues to be addressed. We won't rest on what's happened in the past. We won't rest on where we are today. We will continue to build and strive for that brighter tomorrow. Thank you very much.